So as you all know that I'm a big fan of movies, and not only am I a big fan of them, I love to talk about them too, which is why I wanted to go ahead and share with you the last 3 movies that I just recently watched. So, I'm Awesome Joe, and here's my playback review. And just before I get started, I want to go ahead and inform you all that when it comes to me reviewing the movies that are on DVD and Blu-ray or on digital, they do have spoilers. I will be spoiling the movie for you guys, so just in case if you haven't watched them yet, go ahead and stop this video, watch the movies that I'm about to review, and then come back and watch my video so that way we can have an awesome conversation regarding towards them all. So, let's go ahead and get started with the first movie, Spectre. And Spectre is the 4th Daniel Craig James Bond movie that just came out last November. And I'm a big fan of the James Bond franchise all the way back to the Sean Connery times, back in the 1960s. And all the way to where we get Pierce Brosnan and of course Daniel Craig. And Daniel Craig's franchise is a rebooted version of the whole story. So it's leading to the basic origins of how James Bond became James Bond. And we got to experience that through all the films, Casino Royale to Quantum of Solace, Skyfall, and now Spectre. Spectre is pretty much the final conclusion to the James Bond storyline before he becomes the James Bond that we all know today. But when it comes to Daniel Craig, he mentioned that Spectre is his last James Bond movie, but in fact, he just informed us that he has at least one more left in him, so we will be getting to see a 5th film. So, but back to the movie. Not only do we get Daniel Craig coming back into the James Bond franchise, but we also get Ralph Fiennes coming back as M, which he has replaced Judi Dench's character in the last movie when she passed away in the movie, when she was brutally murdered. And now we have Ralph Fiennes taking on the lead, which he is in this movie as well. And I love Ralph Fiennes as an actor. He does a brilliant job with what he does. We got Q that's coming back, the younger version. So we get to see a little bit of tech that he invents and has in the movie for Mr. James Bond. And we get a new James Bond girl who's actually Mr. White's daughter. And I don't know if you guys remember Mr. White, but he is within the Daniel Craig James Bond franchise. So, and of course Mr. White does return too. And then now we get the new villain, which is Christoph Waltz, being played into this franchise. And I love Christoph Waltz. I think he does a brilliant job with what he does in his acting career, and having him in this movie is just perfect. I really do, and I really did enjoy him in this movie as being the lead villain. The Spectre is not as great as Skyfall, but it is better. It is a really good James Bond film, and I would have to rate Spectre a 7.0 out of 10. And what are your guys' reviews? What is your opinions regarding towards it? Go ahead and leave me a comment in the section down below. Maybe we can go ahead and have a great, awesome conversation about it. So let's go ahead and get on to the next movie. Kingsman, The Secret Service. Kingsman, The Secret Service is like a mixture of James Bond and The Matrix being put together. Why do you say The Matrix? Well, the reason why is because, I just felt like I was watching the whole story arc to the whole thing. So, you get a simple, basic boy who's being recruited by an older gentleman into a world that is beyond reality terms. And once dealing in training, he fails his mission at the end, and his recruiter happens to be in deep crisis, and which brings the young boy into having to come back and rescue his mentor from a certain harm. So that's what I got out of the movie. I mean, if you haven't seen Kingsman yet, I mean, it's you would catch what I'm talking about when it comes to the whole thing. But let's go ahead and get to the story here. We got the character named Eggsy, who's recruited by Colin Firth's character, and he's brought into what is called the Kingsman, the Secret Service. And the Secret Service is kind of like like a James Bond type of thing. And this movie is directed by Matthew Vaughn, and Matthew Vaughn is a brilliant director. I really love his work. If you're not familiar with Matthew Vaughn, he is the director of the first Kick-Ass movie and X-Men First Class. So if you love those movies, then you would love Kingsman, because that's what brought me into having to wanting to watch this movie. Because Kingsman, I wasn't really too wanting to watch this, but yet having to know that it is directed by Matthew Vaughn, I wanted to watch it. So which I did. I loved it. And we get other actors in this movie like Michael Caine or Mark Strong. We got Sophia Botello and of course Mr. Colin Firth, and not to forget to mention the lead villain, which is Samuel L. Jackson. And Sam Jackson, he is like almost in every movie nowadays, and Sam Jackson, he does not disappoint. He does a brilliant job with what he does, being an actor, and he does great with having to be a villain too. I mean, if you don't remember him back in the 90s, when he first popped up in Pulp Fiction, I mean, we're not first popping up. I know you guys remember him when he popped up in Coming to America, but his lead part was when he was in Pulp Fiction, and he just did brilliant ever since then. So, but Kingsman, The Secret Service is a great movie. I was just really entertained by the whole thing. It was great. I'm really looking forward to seeing Kingsman, The Golden Circle, the sequel to this movie, which of course with the returning cast and the returning director Michael Vaughn and Matthew Vaughn into this whole thing. So what did you guys think of it? My review towards it is a 7.5. I really did like it. I'm really looking forward to seeing the sequel. I hope you guys are too. What is your review towards it? Let me know in the comment section down below. So let's go ahead and head to the next movie review that I'm going to be doing for you guys. The Huntsman, Winter's War. Snow White and the Huntsman, not a big fan of it. It wasn't really a movie that really caught my attention. Did I still want to watch it? Yeah, I mean, it's a movie. Why the heck not? This one was before we started getting Disney live action movies like Beauty and the Beast and Maleficent and so on and so forth. But The Huntsman, Winter's War is actually a little bit more impressive, if you ask me. I really wasn't that disappointed within this film. I was entertained not from the beginning, but somewhere along the middle towards the end. We do get returning both Chris Hemsworth and Charlize Theron. Charlize Theron is pretty much only in the movie about a quarter of the time. The majority of it is very much the Huntsman's story, and based off of what the entitlement of the movie is that about a quarter of the movie is a story before Snow White and the Huntsman, and then 7 years later it's a story after the first movie. And we have two new members of the cast that is joining into this movie. We've got Emily Blunt, who plays the Snow Queen, and then we have Jessica Chastain, who is kind of like the equal love interest to Chris Hemsworth's Huntsman character. And to be honest with you, these actors are really great at what they do. I really loved the combination of these four actors playing these four characters in this movie. In the first one, I wasn't really that much into Kristen Stewart playing Snow White. I didn't really see it, I didn't really feel it, and I've seen her, her acting in the Twilight movies, and I see her acting in this movie, and I just wasn't into it. It wasn't really my thing. But the whole story of this whole thing is that the Snow Queen, she's very much a character who has gone through a traumatic moment in her life, which causes her to not believe in love. And so she builds her own kingdom and kidnaps a bunch of children and raising them into within the law of forbidden love. So that way she spares them from the pain that she is going through herself. And then when we have Jessica Chastain and Chris Hemsworth love interest that is discovered, they are banished from each other, torn apart from each other, and 7 years later, after the first movie, they reconnect with each other, having to be on this journey of having to find the mirror that the evil queen had in the first movie. After when Snow White has won the battle and she's regained her kingdom, she has banished the mirror from her kingdom because it has dark magic, that it only causes evil. And since the Snow Queen found this out, she's on a quest to having to find it, which leads us to Chris Hemsworth going on this journey along with Jessica Chastain, having to find this before the Snow Queen does. Otherwise, if she does, she will regain a more higher power to where she could become unstoppable, and that's something that we can never have a villain gain to themselves. So that's the movie. We do have, like I said, Charlize Theron is not really a big part of this. She is in it, but only for a quarter of the time. But otherwise, it's a great movie. I was really entertained by it. It was awesome. I loved it better than the first one. But what did you guys think about it? What is your reviews? Because mine, I would have to give it a 6.8 out of 10. It's an awesome movie. Is it the best? No, of course not. But no movie's perfect, and this one, I would have to give it a really great 6.8. It deserves it. So, those are my movies. Usually I would do 5, but I downed it down to 3. That way I can get in the time to go ahead and review them without any hesitations. But like I said, these movie reviews are my passion, and if you guys have any movie requests that you would like for me to review, please comment in the section down below. Subscribe to my videos. It means a great deal to me that you guys do this for me, because this is, like I said, this is my passion, and if this is something that you guys like to do yourselves, please do so. If I can do it, you can do it. But if you have any questions, comments, or concerns about the movies that I reviewed, please comment in the section down below, and I'll be more than happy to respond to you guys so we can have an awesome conversation. If you, like I said, if you guys have any other requests, please let me know. I'll be more than happy to do it for you guys. But anyways, I'm Awesome Joe. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch my videos. You guys are so awesome. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys at the movies. Hopefully I get to see you guys for Kingsman: The Golden Circle when it gets released into theaters. So thanks so much, guys. You guys stay awesome. Bye.